Taking action can be one of the hardest things to do, especially when you feel stuck or overwhelmed. You know what you want to achieve, but something keeps holding you back. Fear, procrastination, doubt, or just not knowing where to start. It's frustrating, isn't it? That gap between what you dream of doing and actually making it happen can feel like an impossible wall to climb. But here's the truth. Action is what separates the dreamers from the doers. And today we're going to break down how you can force yourself to take action, even when every part of you wants to stay in your comfort zone. This isn't about sheer willpower or cheesy just do it advice. We're talking practical steps, real strategies, and powerful mindset shifts that can completely change the way you approach your goals. If you've ever felt like you're spinning your wheels or waiting for the right moment to start, this is for you. Imagine finally being able to push through that resistance, make progress, and actually see results. It's possible, and by the end of this you'll have the tools to make it happen. So, if you're ready to stop overthinking, stop delaying, and finally take control of your actions, stick around. Let's dive into how you can build unstoppable momentum and make the kind of progress you've been dreaming about. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Action. Have you ever had a dream that just felt too big to chase? Maybe you've found yourself stuck in the planning stage, thinking about how amazing it would be to achieve that dream, but then nothing happens. You keep thinking, one day I'll get to it. But one day never comes, does it? What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and your dreams is one simple thing: action? Now, this might sound too simple to be true, but let me break it down for you. We all have dreams, right? We all have big goals that we want to reach, whether it's starting a business, writing a book, getting fit, or finally taking control of your life. But here's the harsh reality: dreams don't come true just by wishing for them. They come true by taking consistent, focused action. When I was younger, I thought it was enough to just dream. I would spend hours thinking about what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve, but somehow the actions never matched the thoughts. I wasn't moving forward, and as much as I wanted to blame circumstances, I knew deep down that it was my own hesitation, my own fear that kept me stuck. You see, the foundation of success isn't in thinking about success. It's in doing. It's in taking action, even when it feels scary, uncertain, or even impossible. And that's what most people miss. They wait for the right moment, the right feeling, the perfect circumstances before they move. But here's the truth: those perfect circumstances never come. You have to create them, and the only way to do that is by acting. I'm not talking about just any action. I'm talking about real, purposeful action that takes you closer to your goals, no matter how big or small. Every action you take is a building block. Every decision to move forward, even when it feels uncomfortable, is a step in the right direction. Action is the muscle that grows the body of your dreams. Without it, your goals are just fantasies. But let's get real. Taking action isn't always easy. It's not always something you can just do on autopilot. It requires a mindset shift, a change in how you approach your life and your goals. And for some of us, that means confronting the fears that hold us back. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, but I'm scared to fail. What if I mess up? Believe me, I get it. I've been there. The fear of failure is real. But here's something important. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's just a lesson, a stepping stone towards success. Think about it for a second. Every successful person you admire has failed at some point. The difference is, they didn't let failure stop them. They kept moving. They took action, even when things weren't perfect. And you know what? That's what made all the difference. The truth is, you'll never be 100% ready. You'll never feel completely confident, and you'll never have all the answers. But waiting for everything to be perfect will leave you waiting forever. Action breeds clarity. When you start taking small steps, even if they're not perfect, you begin to figure things out. You learn, you adjust, and most importantly, you gain momentum. And momentum, my friend, is powerful. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. The more you act, the bigger that snowball gets, and the easier it becomes to keep going. Action creates its own energy. The hardest part is starting. But once you take that first step, the rest becomes easier. You'll gain confidence. You'll learn as you go. And the key to success is doing just that, learning along the way. There's no such thing as failure unless you stop. The moment you stop trying, that's when failure wins. So, how do you build this foundation of action? The first thing is to decide. Make a decision today that you're going to act. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, you might not have all the answers. Heck, you might not even know exactly how you're going to get there. But that's okay. The decision to act is the foundation. Once you decide, things begin to change. You start looking for ways to move forward. You start thinking, what's the first step I can take today? And once you've taken that first step, the next one becomes easier. You need to break through the barrier of hesitation. It's easy to get caught up in analysis paralysis, overthinking everything to the point where you don't move at all. But here's the thing, progress doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. You have to push past the doubts, the uncertainty, and the fear that tell you to wait. Instead, take a step, even if it feels small. Each step is progress. And the more you take, the bigger your momentum will get. One of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to taking action is the fear of failure. You think to yourself, what if I try and fail? What if I put everything into it and it doesn't work? Well, I want to tell you something. Failure is not the end. It's not something to be afraid of. It's an essential part of the journey. You will fail. You will make mistakes. But that's how you learn. That's how you grow. What separates the successful from the unsuccessful is the willingness to keep going, even after failure. The key is to keep moving. When you fail, you don't stop. You learn from it, you adjust, and you try again. Every failure is a lesson that brings you closer to success. But if you don't act, if you don't get in the game, you'll never get those lessons. And without those lessons, you'll never improve. So, let's talk about getting started. You might be thinking, that's all great, but how do I actually begin? The answer is simple. Start small. Don't try to do everything at once. Don't look at the whole mountain and get overwhelmed. Just take the first step. If your goal is to get fit, don't aim for 2 hours at the gym right away. Start with a 10-minute walk. If you want to write a book, don't think about writing 50,000 words, just write a page. Starting small makes the process manageable and builds your confidence. And that's the trick. Take small actions consistently. It's not about making huge leaps every day. It's about showing up. It's about committing to do something every single day that gets you closer to where you want to be. Over time, those small steps add up. And before you know it, you've moved farther than you ever thought possible. The foundation of action is built on consistency. It's not about one big move. It's about showing up every day and taking that next step. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And with each step you take, you get closer to making your dreams a reality. Remember, the most successful people didn't get there by waiting for the perfect moment or by dreaming their way to success. They took action every day. And if you want to achieve your dreams, you have to do the same. Take that first step. Commit to action, and watch how everything starts to change. It's time to stop waiting and start doing. Your future starts today. Chapter 2. Break free from the comfort trap. You know that feeling when you're sitting on the couch after a long day, wrapped up in a blanket, watching your favorite show or scrolling through your phone, just feeling comfortable. It's nice, right? No pressure, no stress, just peace. But deep down you also know that something is missing. You know there's more out there for you. You know you're capable of more. But somehow, it's so easy to stay in that comfy spot, isn't it? We all have this trap we fall into. It's called the comfort zone. It's that cozy place where everything feels safe, predictable, and effortless. It's where we go when we don't want to face the discomfort of growth, change, or the unknown. And while that's completely natural, staying in that comfort zone for too long can start to make you feel stuck. You might not even realize it, but by staying in that zone, you're actually stopping yourself from growing, from reaching your potential, from living the life you were meant to live. I'm sure you've had those moments where you've dreamed of achieving something big. Maybe you've thought about getting a promotion at work, starting a business, or finally tackling that big goal you've been putting off. But then something happens. You talk yourself out of it. You make excuses. I'm too busy. I'm not ready. What if I fail? It's easy to stay where you are because, well, it feels comfortable, even if it's not where you want to be. And that's the tricky part about the comfort zone. It tricks you into thinking that staying where you are is safer, even though deep down you know you're capable of so much more. I've been there. I've had my fair share of moments where I was perfectly content sitting in my comfort zone, convincing myself that everything was fine. But I learned something important. Nothing ever grows in the comfort zone. Your goals, your dreams, your potential, they all lie outside of it. And if you want to truly live a life of fulfillment, you need to break free from that trap. Now, I'm not saying you should throw caution to the wind and dive headfirst into the unknown without any preparation. I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow and move to a new city without a plan. What I am saying is that you need to challenge yourself. You need to start stepping outside your comfort zone, little by little, until it becomes second nature. Growth happens when you push yourself beyond what feels easy. It happens when you start doing things that scare you, that challenge you, and that make you feel a little uncomfortable. Let's talk about fear for a minute, because I know it's something that holds a lot of people back. The fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of what others might think, these are all real fears. I've had them, and I still have them sometimes. But here's the thing, fear doesn't have to control you. It's a natural emotion, yes, but you don't have to let it stop you. The key is to acknowledge the fear, feel it, and then do it anyway. If you can get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish. Think about it for a second. Every time you've pushed through fear, you've come out on the other side stronger. It's like the first time you rode a bike, or the first time you spoke in front of a crowd. You were scared, unsure, and probably nervous as heck. But you did it anyway. And once you did, it wasn't as scary the next time. It became easier. You got better. That's how growth works. The more you face your fears and step outside your comfort zone, the easier it gets. Here's the thing, comfort is addictive. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that life should always be easy. We've all seen the social media posts about the hustle culture, the people out there grinding every single day, pushing through discomfort to achieve their goals. It can feel overwhelming, like you have to always be doing something. But that's not what I'm talking about. It's not about running yourself ragged. It's about taking small intentional steps outside of your comfort zone every single day. It's about making the choice to do things that make you a little uncomfortable, even if it's just for a few minutes. And here's the real beauty of it. When you start stepping outside your comfort zone, you start to realize that it's not as scary as you thought. You start to realize that the things you've been avoiding, the hard conversations, the new opportunities, the big challenges, are actually the things that will help you grow. And when you start seeing that, you start craving it. You begin to see discomfort as a sign that you're on the right track, that you're growing, and that you're moving towards something bigger and better than you've ever experienced before. One of the things that holds people back from taking that first step outside their comfort zone is the fear of failure. We've all been there, right? We think, what if I fail? What if I mess up? But here's the truth. Failure isn't the worst thing that can happen. Not trying is. I'd rather fail trying than never try at all. When you fail, you learn, you get better, and you get stronger. But when you stay in your comfort zone, you miss out on all of that growth. When I started my own business, I was terrified. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have all the answers. But I knew that if I stayed in my comfort zone, I'd never get anywhere. So, I took the leap. I stepped outside of that comfortable space and into the unknown. And yeah, I failed. A lot. But every time I did, I learned something new. And over time, I got better. I became more confident. I became more capable, and I started to build something that I was proud of. But you can't get there if you don't start. You can't get there if you keep telling yourself that you'll try tomorrow or next week. The time is now. The only thing holding you back is the fear of stepping outside your comfort zone. And once you realize that, you'll start to see the possibilities all around you. So how do you break free from the comfort trap? It's simple. Start small. Pick one thing, just one, that makes you feel a little uncomfortable and commit to doing it. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's finally signing up for that class you've been thinking about. Maybe it's just taking a walk every morning instead of hitting snooze on your alarm. Whatever it is, make the commitment to do it. And once you do, take the next step, and the next. Each step will get easier. Here's the secret: comfort never brings progress. Progress comes from taking action, even when it's hard. And the more you push yourself to do the hard things, the easier it will get. The more you break free from the comfort zone, the bigger your life will get. You will start to see yourself in a new light. You'll realize that you're capable of so much more than you ever imagined. It's time to break free from that comfort trap. It's time to push yourself, to challenge yourself, and to start living a life that truly excites you. You deserve more than a life of just existing. You deserve a life of growth, of excitement, and of success. And the only way to get there is to step outside your comfort zone and take action, even when it's hard. The first step is always the hardest, but once you take it, there's no turning back. And trust me, you won't regret it. Chapter 3. Build a mindset for action. When you think about taking action, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Maybe you picture yourself doing something big, like launching a business, running a marathon, or making a life-changing decision. But here's the thing: action doesn't always look like that. It's not always about the big moments or the grand gestures. Sometimes, action is about how you think, how you prepare yourself mentally, how you choose to approach your day, your goals, and your life. Building a mindset for action is one of the most important steps you can take if you want to be successful. But it's not something that happens overnight. It's not like you wake up one morning and suddenly feel ready to take on the world. It's a process, a journey that requires patience, practice, and a willingness to push through those moments when you don't feel like it. It starts with understanding one simple truth: your thoughts shape your actions. What you think about determines what you do. If you spend all your time focusing on the reasons why something is too hard, too risky, or too far out of your reach, guess what? You're not going to take action. But if you start shifting your mindset to focus on what you can do, what you can learn, and what's possible, you'll be amazed at how much more motivated you feel to actually do the work. Think about it like this. Have you ever had one of those days when you wake up and everything feels off? You're tired, unmotivated, and just not in the mood to tackle anything. It's easy to let that mindset take over, right? But what if you could change that in an instant? What if you could shift from "I don't feel like it" to "I can do this"? What if you could train your brain to look for opportunities instead of obstacles, to focus on the positive instead of the negative? That's the power of a mindset for action. It's all about making that mental shift. Instead of looking at challenges as things to avoid, start looking at them as opportunities to grow. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, see them as lessons that bring you one step closer to success. This kind of mindset doesn't just happen on its own. It takes effort. It takes practice. But it's worth it. One of the biggest barriers people face when it comes to taking action is self-doubt. We've all been there, right? That voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough. It's a natural part of being human, but it's also something that can hold you back if you let it. The key to overcoming self-doubt is learning how to separate your thoughts from your identity. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Your thoughts are just that, thoughts. They're not facts. So when that voice in your head tells you that you can't do something, you have to learn to ignore it and replace it with something more empowering. Building a mindset for action also means getting comfortable with failure. I know, that sounds counterintuitive. Why would you want to get comfortable with failure? The answer is simple. Failure is a part of the process. It's not something to fear or avoid. It's something to embrace. Every successful person you look up to has failed at some point. But what sets them apart is that they didn't let failure stop them. They learned from it, they got back up, and they kept going. You have to do the same. If you want to take consistent action, you've got to train your mind to see failure as just another step towards success. It's like learning to ride a bike. When you were a kid, you probably fell off a few times. Maybe you scraped your knee, or maybe you even got frustrated and wanted to quit. But you didn't. You got back on the bike, tried again, and eventually you learned how to ride. The same thing applies to anything you want to accomplish in life. You're going to face challenges, you're going to stumble, and yes, you might fail. But failure is just part of the journey. Another key part of building a mindset for action is developing a sense of urgency. It's easy to put things off, to say "I'll do it tomorrow" or "I'll start next week." But the truth is, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Next week can turn into next month, and next month can turn into next year. Time slips away so quickly, and before you know it, you've missed out on opportunities that could have changed your life. That's why it's so important to develop a sense of urgency now, not in a frantic, stressed-out way, but in a way that reminds you of the value of every moment. One of the best ways to do this is to set small, actionable goals that you can achieve today. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect time to start. Start now with whatever you have and keep moving forward. Every small win you achieve today will fuel your motivation to keep going tomorrow. And before you know it, you'll have built up momentum, and you'll be well on your way to accomplishing bigger goals. The mindset for action is also about discipline. It's about doing the work, even when you don't feel like it. Even when the bed feels extra cozy, or when there's a new show on Netflix that you just can't resist. Discipline is what gets you out of bed at 5 a.m. to work on your dreams. It's what keeps you pushing through those moments when everything inside you wants to quit. It's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. And the best part is, discipline is something you can build over time. It's not something you either have or you don't. You can cultivate it by making small, intentional choices every day. One way to build discipline is to create a routine. Routines help you stay on track, even when your motivation is low. When you have a clear plan for your day, it's easier to take action because you're not wasting time wondering what to do next. You're just following the plan. And when you start accomplishing the small things on your list, you build momentum. You start feeling proud of yourself, and that pride keeps you going. But remember, building a mindset for action isn't just about discipline. It's also about flexibility. Things don't always go according to plan. Sometimes you're going to hit roadblocks. Sometimes life is going to throw you a curveball, and that's okay. The key is to stay adaptable. When things don't go the way you expected, don't throw in the towel. Find a new way forward. Look for solutions instead of problems. Stay focused on the bigger picture and keep taking action, even if it's a different kind of action than you originally planned. You might also find that as you start building a mindset for action, you start surrounding yourself with people who push you to be better. Your environment plays a huge role in your mindset. If you're constantly around people who are negative, who tell you that you can't do something, or who never take action themselves, it's going to be harder for you to take action too. But if you surround yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, and who hold you accountable, you'll be more motivated to stay on track. Building a mindset for action means recognizing that you are in control. You are the one who decides whether or not you take action. No one else can do it for you. And while there will always be external factors that you can't control, the way you think, the way you react, and the way you show up every day is completely within your power. So make the decision today to start building that mindset. Decide that you are going to take action, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't feel like it. Because at the end of the day, action is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. And the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the choice to take that first step. So take it, and then keep going. Chapter 4. The Art of Starting Small. We all have big dreams. I don't know a single person who doesn't have a vision of something they want to achieve, whether it's building a successful business, getting in shape, writing a book, or traveling the world. But here's the harsh reality: those big dreams, if you're not careful, can feel so overwhelming that you never take that first step. The size of the goal can paralyze you. You sit there, looking at the mountain ahead, and you think, how in the world am I ever going to climb that? But what if I told you that the secret to achieving your biggest goals isn't in the grand vision itself, it's in how you start? And the key to starting is knowing how to start small. I know, it sounds simple, but hear me out. When you're starting something new, whether it's a personal goal or a business venture, you have to be realistic about the process. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and suddenly have everything in place. That's not how life works. The reality is, it's the small steps, the little things you do every day, that will add up over time and eventually lead you to success. But so many people miss this. They see their big dreams, and they get overwhelmed by the sheer size of the task. They think they have to do everything all at once, and because of that, they end up doing nothing at all. If you've ever had the experience of setting a huge goal and then feeling completely defeated before you even got started, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The goal feels too big, and your mind starts listing all the reasons why it's impossible. You might think, I'm not experienced enough, I don't have the time, or I don't know where to begin. But let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you just focused on taking the first small step? What if, instead of worrying about everything you need to do to reach your goal, you simply focused on doing one thing today? It might sound too simple, but that one small action, when repeated over time, can create massive change. Starting small is a way to trick your brain into feeling like you're making progress without the pressure of perfection. When you break your big goals down into smaller, manageable tasks, you begin to feel like you're actually accomplishing something, and that momentum builds. One small step, followed by another, creates forward movement. And here's the kicker: small steps lead to bigger steps, and bigger steps eventually lead to massive results. But you have to start somewhere. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it's tiny, but as it picks up speed and size, it becomes unstoppable. Take a moment and think about a goal you've been wanting to pursue. Maybe you've been saying for months, or even years, I want to write a book. But the thought of sitting down and writing an entire book feels too daunting. The blank page stares at you, and you freeze. But if you shifted your focus just a little, and instead of thinking about the entire book, you focused on writing just 500 words today, that's manageable, right? Now you're not thinking about how hard it is to write a whole book. You're thinking about how to write just 500 words. And once you've done that, you'll feel good about it. You'll feel accomplished. And that accomplishment will fuel your desire to write another 500 words tomorrow. Before you know it, you've got a chapter written, then another chapter, and eventually you have a finished book. But it all started with that one small step. This is the power of starting small. It's not about tackling everything at once, it's about breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. You don't need to have all the answers or all the resources up front. You don't need to wait until everything is perfect. You just need to start with what you have, where you are, and with the smallest action possible. And here's the beauty of it: once you begin, you'll gain momentum. The act of getting started will create the motivation to keep going. But here's the thing that people often miss when it comes to starting small: you can't let perfectionism get in your way. A lot of us have this internal voice that says, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. This is a killer when it comes to taking action. The truth is, nothing is ever perfect from the start. Your first draft isn't going to be your best. Your first workout won't make you the healthiest version of yourself. Your first business idea might not be the one that blows up. But that's okay. In fact, that's great. Because starting small means giving yourself permission to fail, to try, and to learn. And every time you do that, you're building something stronger. You're building confidence in your ability to take action. You're training yourself to not be afraid of mistakes, because you know they're part of the process. When I first started in business, I didn't have all the answers. In fact, I felt completely overwhelmed by the mountain ahead of me. But I learned quickly that it's not about having everything figured out before you begin. It's about taking that first step, no matter how small. I started by writing down a list of the tasks I needed to accomplish, and then I just picked one. I didn't worry about what came after that. I focused on doing one thing at a time, and that's how I built momentum. Slowly but surely, I began to make progress. One small action led to another, and before I knew it, I had built a business that supported my lifestyle. Another benefit of starting small is that it's less intimidating. You're not looking at a huge goal and feeling overwhelmed. You're looking at one small task that you know you can accomplish today. And once you do that, you'll feel a sense of achievement. That feeling of accomplishment will propel you forward, and the next small task will seem even easier. The beauty of small actions is that they compound. You might not see the results right away, but over time, those small steps will add up. You'll look back after a few months or a year and realize how far you've come. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know what small step to take? That's a great question. The answer is simple. Start with the easiest task that moves you toward your goal. Let's say your goal is to lose weight. The first step might not be running a marathon. It could be something as simple as drinking more water each day or walking for 10 minutes. If your goal is to build a successful business, your first step might be setting up a website or creating a social media account. Don't overcomplicate it. Just start with something simple that will get you moving in the right direction. The other thing you need to understand about starting small is that it's okay to scale up as you go. The idea is to start with what you can manage, and then as you gain confidence and momentum, you can gradually increase the intensity of your efforts. If you start by walking 10 minutes a day, and that feels easy, then you can start walking 20 minutes. Once you're comfortable with that, you can add running. It's the same with anything you want to achieve. Start small, and as you gain momentum, you'll be ready to take on bigger challenges. So what's the takeaway here? The next time you find yourself looking at a big goal and feeling paralyzed by its size, remember that the key is to start small. Break it down into manageable steps and take that first action. No matter how small, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Just start, and then keep going. Each small step you take will bring you closer to the person you want to become and the life you want to live. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Just begin, and watch how your small actions lead to big results. Chapter 5. Use time as a weapon. Time is the one thing we all have in common. Whether you're rich or poor, young or old, we all get the same 24 hours in a day. The question isn't how much time you have, it's how you use it. Time is one of the greatest tools at your disposal, but too many of us let it slip through our fingers. We let it control us instead of mastering it. If you want to succeed, to truly live a life of purpose and progress, you must learn to use time as your greatest weapon. You see, time has a way of slipping away if you're not paying attention. It doesn't shout or demand your attention. It just quietly ticks by, moment by moment. The danger is when you wake up one day and realize you've spent years being busy but not productive. There's a big difference between the two. Being busy means you're filling your days with tasks, but productivity means you're filling your days with the right tasks, the ones that truly matter. Let's talk about where your time is going. I'll be honest with you, most people have no idea how they're spending their days. They think they're working hard, but when they stop to evaluate, they realize a lot of their time is being eaten up by distractions. Scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, answering every email the second it arrives. These things might feel urgent, but they're rarely important. If you want to take control of your time, the first step is to be brutally honest with yourself. Where is your time really going? Start paying attention to how you spend each hour of your day. Write it down if you have to. Track it. Because until you know where your time is going, you can't take control of it. Once you've figured that out, the next step is to ask yourself a very simple but powerful question. What truly matters? Not everything you do in a day is of equal importance. Some tasks will move you closer to your goals, while others will just keep you busy. This is where you need to learn to prioritize. Focus on the things that matter most, the things that align with your purpose, your goals, and your values. If you're spending the majority of your time on things that don't matter, you're not using your time wisely. And let me tell you, time wasted is time you'll never get back. Now let's get practical. One of the most powerful ways to take control of your time is to plan your day before it begins. Don't just wake up and let the day happen to you. Decide ahead of time how you're going to spend it. Make a list of the most important tasks you need to accomplish and tackle those first. I call this the power of the first few hours. If you can win the first part of your day, you'll build momentum that carries you through the rest of it. On the other hand, if you waste your morning, it's much harder to recover and feel productive later. But planning your day isn't just about making a to-do list. It's also about being realistic. Don't overload yourself with 20 tasks and expect to finish them all. That's a recipe for frustration and burnout. Instead, focus on a few key tasks that are truly important. If you accomplish those, you'll feel a sense of progress and achievement, even if the rest of the day doesn't go as planned. Here's another tip: learn to say no. This is a hard one for a lot of people, but it's crucial if you want to protect your time. You can't say yes to everything and everyone. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So before you agree to take on another project or attend another meeting, ask yourself, is this worth my time? Is this moving me closer to my goals? If the answer is no, don't be afraid to say so. Your time is too valuable to be spent on things that don't matter. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to time is dealing with distractions. We live in a world that's constantly vying for our attention. Notifications, emails, phone calls, social media, it's a never-ending stream of interruptions. If you're not careful, these distractions will control your day. The key is to set boundaries. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Set specific times to check your email instead of responding to every message as it comes in. Create a work environment that minimizes distractions so you can focus on what matters most. I want to talk about something else that's often overlooked: rest. Using time wisely doesn't mean working non-stop from morning to night. It means working smart. And part of working smart is knowing when to take a break. Rest isn't a waste of time, it's an investment in your productivity. When you're well rested, you think more clearly, make better decisions, and get more done in less time. So don't feel guilty about taking breaks or getting enough sleep. Rest is part of the process. Another powerful way to use time as a weapon is to think long-term. Too many people are focused on the short term, what they can accomplish today or this week. But if you want to achieve something great, you have to think beyond the immediate future. Where do you want to be in 5 years? In 10 years? What steps can you take today that will move you closer to that vision? When you start thinking long-term, you'll make better decisions about how to spend your time in the present. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have time to do all this. My life is too busy. But here's the truth: you make time for what matters to you. If something is truly important, you'll find a way to fit it into your day. And if it's not important, you'll find an excuse. So the question isn't whether you have time, it's whether you're willing to make the time. Remember this: every day is a new opportunity to start fresh. You don't have to wait for a new week, a new month, or a new year. Every morning when you wake up, you have the chance to take control of your time and make it count. Don't waste it. Time is your most valuable asset, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. So use it wisely, use it intentionally, use it as a weapon to build the life you want. Chapter 6. Build habits that stick. Habits are the invisible force shaping our lives. They're the routines, the repeated actions we take every day, often without even thinking about them. The truth is, our habits have more power over us than we realize. They determine how productive we are, how healthy we stay, and even how happy we feel. If you want to change your life, you have to change your habits. But here's the catch. Building habits that stick is not always easy. It takes effort, intention, and a little patience. Yet, once you master this, the rewards are beyond anything you can imagine. So let's start by looking at the habits you already have. Some of them are helping you, while others might be holding you back. Maybe you start your morning scrolling through your phone, instead of setting a positive tone for the day. Maybe you procrastinate on important tasks until the last minute. Whatever it is, identifying those habits is the first step. Be honest with yourself about what's working and what isn't. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Now let's talk about how to create new habits. The kind that support your goals and help you become the person you want to be. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to build new habits is that they aim too high, too fast. They want to overhaul their entire lives overnight. But let me tell you something. Real change happens in small steps. Instead of trying to change everything at once, focus on one habit at a time. Start small. If you want to exercise more, don't commit to running 5 miles a day right away. Start with a 10-minute walk. If you want to read more, don't set a goal to finish a book every week. Start with 10 pages a day. Small steps are not just easier to stick to, they're also the building blocks of momentum. Another key to building habits is consistency. Doing something every day, even if it's just a little, is far more effective than doing a lot once in a while. Think about brushing your teeth. It's a small, simple act, but because you do it every day, it keeps your teeth healthy over time. Habits work the same way. The more consistent you are, the more they become a natural part of your routine. Consistency creates a sense of rhythm and normalcy, and before you know it, your new habit becomes second nature. But let's be real, consistency is hard. Life gets in the way. You'll have days when you're tired, busy, or just not in the mood. On those days, remind yourself why you started. Think about the bigger picture, the long-term benefits. It's not just about today, it's about building something that will serve you for years to come. And remember, it's okay to have an off day. What matters is getting back on track. Progress is not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. Let's not forget the role of environment in building habits. Your surroundings play a huge role in whether you succeed or struggle. If your environment is filled with distractions or temptations, it's going to be much harder to stick to your habits. So set yourself up for success. If you're trying to eat healthier, keep junk food out of the house and stock up on nutritious options. If you're trying to focus on work, create a space that's free from distractions. The easier you make it to stick to your habits, the more likely you are to follow through. Another powerful strategy is to tie your new habit to something you're already doing. This is called habit stacking, and it's incredibly effective. For example, if you want to start meditating, you could do it right after brushing your teeth in the morning. If you want to drink more water, you could take a sip every time you check your phone. By linking your new habit to an existing one, you're creating a natural trigger that reminds you to follow through. Let's talk about rewards. Building habits isn't just about discipline, it's also about making the process enjoyable. Find ways to reward yourself for sticking to your habits. Maybe you treat yourself to something small after completing a week of workouts. Maybe you set up a system to track your progress, and seeing those check marks adds a sense of accomplishment. Rewards don't have to be big or expensive, they just have to make you feel good about your progress. Over time, the habit itself will become its own reward, but in the beginning, those little incentives can make a big difference. Now, here's something important to remember. Building habits is not a straight line. There will be setbacks. You'll miss a day, maybe even a week. You'll feel like giving up. That's normal. But the secret to building habits that stick is not avoiding failure, it's learning how to bounce back. When you slip up, don't beat yourself up or throw in the towel. Just get back on track as soon as you can. A missed day doesn't erase your progress. What matters is the pattern you create over time, not the occasional hiccup. I also want to emphasize the importance of identity in building habits. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who's disciplined and committed, you're more likely to stick to your habits. On the other hand, if you tell yourself, "I'm just not the kind of person who can stay consistent," that belief will hold you back. So start thinking of yourself as the person you want to become. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to get fit," say, "I'm someone who takes care of my health." Instead of saying, "I'm trying to be more productive," say, "I'm someone who values my time." Your identity shapes your actions, and your actions reinforce your identity. Finally, I want you to remember that habits are about more than just achieving goals. They're about creating a life you love. When you build habits that align with your values and priorities, you're not just checking off boxes on a to-do list. You're shaping the kind of person you want to be and the kind of life you want to live. So take your time, be patient with yourself, focus on progress, not perfection, and trust that every small step you take is bringing you closer to the life you deserve. Building habits that stick is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. So start today, start small, and keep going, even when it's hard. Because every habit you build is a step toward becoming the best version of yourself. And that, my friend, is a journey worth taking. Chapter 7. Push through resistance. Resistance is a funny thing, isn't it? It shows up uninvited, right when you're about to do something meaningful, something that could change your life. It's that invisible wall that stands between you and the action you need to take. It's the voice in your head saying, "Not today," or "You're not ready." Resistance is universal. Everyone feels it. The difference lies in how you respond to it. Will you let it stop you, or will you push through? Let me tell you something. Resistance isn't the enemy. It's actually a sign. It means you're on to something important. Nobody feels resistance about doing something that doesn't matter. You don't feel resistance about binge-watching TV or scrolling through your phone, do you? Resistance shows up when you're about to do something worthwhile, something that demands effort, focus, and maybe even a little courage. Recognizing this can change the way you look at it. Instead of dreading resistance, you can start to see it as a compass, pointing you toward growth. But just because resistance has a purpose doesn't mean it's easy to deal with. It can be incredibly convincing. It disguises itself as logical excuses, like "I'll start tomorrow," or "I need more information." It shows up as fear, doubt, procrastination, and even fatigue. The key is to understand that resistance is temporary. It's strongest at the beginning, right before you take that first step. Once you start, it begins to lose its power. That's why the hardest part of any task is often just getting started. Let's talk about starting. The best way to push through resistance is to make the first step as small and simple as possible. If you're facing a big, overwhelming task, break it down. Tell yourself, I'll just do 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes of writing, 5 minutes of exercise, 5 minutes of cleaning. What happens is this: once you start, momentum takes over. 5 minutes turns into 10, then 20. Starting creates a ripple effect, and before you know it, you're in the flow. But what about those times when resistance feels too strong, when even the smallest step feels like too much? Here's where you have to rely on discipline. Discipline is the muscle that gets you moving when motivation isn't there. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, but discipline is dependable. It's the habit of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. And the more you practice discipline, the stronger it gets. Now, I know discipline can sound like a heavy word, like something rigid and joyless, but discipline isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being kind to your future self. Think about it this way: every time you push through resistance, you're doing a favor for the person you'll be tomorrow, next week, next year. You're building a foundation for the life you want. That's not punishment. It's self-care on a higher level. There's something else that helps in the battle against resistance, and that's having a clear why. Why are you doing this? What's the bigger purpose behind the task you're resisting? Maybe you're working on a project that could advance your career. Maybe you're trying to get healthier for the sake of your family. Whatever it is, reconnect with that purpose. When your why is strong enough, it can overpower resistance. Write it down. Keep it in front of you. Let it remind you of what's at stake. Another thing that can help is changing the way you talk to yourself. Resistance loves negative self-talk. It thrives on thoughts like, I can't do this, or this is too hard. But you can flip the script. Instead of focusing on how hard something is, remind yourself of how good you'll feel once it's done. Say to yourself, I've done hard things before, and I can do this too. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to a friend who's struggling. Be encouraging, not critical. Let's not forget the power of accountability. Resistance hates accountability. When you share your goals with someone, when you tell them what you're working on and ask them to check in on your progress, it creates a sense of responsibility. You don't want to let them down, and that can be a powerful motivator. Find a friend, a mentor, or even a group of people who share similar goals. Lean on them when resistance gets tough, and offer them the same support in return. Now I want to talk about fear, because it's one of resistance's favorite tools. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. These fears can be paralyzing. But here's the truth: fear is a natural part of doing anything worthwhile. It's not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you're stretching, growing, reaching beyond your comfort zone. The trick is not to eliminate fear, but to take action despite it. Feel the fear, acknowledge it, and then take the next step anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Sometimes resistance comes in the form of perfectionism. You hesitate to start because you're worried it won't be perfect. But let me tell you something. Perfection is a myth. Nobody gets it right the first time. Nobody creates something flawless without first creating something messy. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Focus on progress, not perfection. Take messy action. You can always refine and improve later, but you can't fix something that doesn't exist. So start, even if it's not perfect, especially if it's not perfect. One last thing I want to say about resistance is this: it's not just an obstacle, it's a teacher. Every time you push through it, you learn something about yourself. You learn how strong you are, how resourceful you can be. You discover what you're capable of. And with every victory, big or small, you build confidence. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you earn, one step at a time, by proving to yourself that you can do hard things. So the next time you feel resistance, don't let it stop you. Let it challenge you, stretch you, make you better. Remember that it's a sign you're on the right track. Take the smallest step you can, and let that step lead to another. Lean on your discipline, reconnect with your why, and be kind to yourself along the way. Resistance is temporary, but the growth it leads to lasts forever. And every time you push through, you're not just moving closer to your goals, you're becoming the kind of person who doesn't let anything stand in their way. That, my friend, is a victory worth fighting for. Chapter 8. Find your driving force. Finding your driving force is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's that deep personal reason that pushes you to keep going when the road gets tough, when obstacles pile up, and when the results feel far away. Without it, you might move forward for a while, but eventually you'll slow down or even stop. With it, you'll find energy you didn't even know you had. It's what turns effort into persistence, and persistence into success. Let me ask you something. What really drives you? Not the surface level answer, but the real one. Not, I want to be successful, or I want to make more money. Those are results, not reasons. Go deeper. Why do you want those things? What's the feeling you're chasing, the impact you want to make, the life you want to live? Maybe it's about freedom, the freedom to live life on your own terms. Maybe it's about security, knowing you can take care of your family. Or maybe it's about proving something, to yourself or the world, that you're capable of more. Here's the thing about your driving force. It has to be personal. It can't be someone else's dream, someone else's goal. It has to come from within you, because when it's your own, it's yours to hold on to fight for, to wake up thinking about. If it's not personal, it won't stick. And when challenges come, and they always do, you need something solid to anchor yourself to. Something that makes you say, this is why I'm doing it. Now, finding your driving force isn't always easy. It takes time. It takes honesty. It means stripping away all the noise, the expectations of others, the distractions of everyday life, and really asking yourself what matters most. For some people, that clarity comes in a moment of crisis, when they realize what's at stake. For others, it comes gradually, through reflection and small discoveries along the way. Either way, it's worth the effort. Because once you know your driving force, everything else becomes clearer. Decisions get easier, motivation gets stronger. You stop drifting and start moving with purpose. Think about a time in your life when you were unstoppable. Maybe it was a project you were passionate about, a challenge you were determined to overcome, or a goal you had your heart set on. What was different about that time? Chances are you had a strong why. You knew exactly what you were working for and why it mattered. That's the power of a driving force. It fuels you, focuses you, and makes the hard work feel worthwhile. Sometimes, people think their driving force has to be something grand, like changing the world or achieving fame. But it doesn't have to be. It just has to matter to you. Maybe it's about being a role model for your kids, showing them what's possible when you work hard and dream big. Maybe it's about creating something meaningful, something that leaves a mark. Or maybe it's about proving to yourself that you can overcome the odds. Whatever it is, own it. Don't worry about whether it's big enough or impressive enough. If it moves you, that's enough. Once you've found your driving force, the next step is to keep it in front of you. Life has a way of making us forget why we started. The daily grind, the setbacks, the distractions, they can all cloud your vision. That's why it's so important to remind yourself of your why every single day. Write it down, put it somewhere you'll see it often. Maybe it's a note on your mirror, a screensaver on your phone, or a journal entry you revisit every morning. Keep it fresh in your mind and let it guide you. Now let's talk about connecting with your driving force on a deeper level. It's not just about knowing your why, it's about feeling it. Emotions are powerful motivators. When you think about your driving force, let yourself feel the excitement, the passion, the determination it brings. Visualize the life you're working toward, the impact you're making, the people you're helping. Let those emotions energize you. When you're emotionally connected to your driving force, it stops being just an idea and starts being a part of who you are. But what happens when you lose touch with your driving force? Because it happens. You get tired, discouraged, or distracted, and suddenly that fire feels dim. When that happens, go back to the basics. Revisit your why. Remind yourself of what's at stake. Think about the people who inspire you, the moments that reignited your passion in the past. Sometimes, all it takes is a small spark to bring the fire back. And remember, it's okay to adjust your driving force as you grow. What drives you today might not be the same thing that drives you a year from now, and that's perfectly fine. Growth means change, and your driving force can evolve with you. Here's one more thing to remember. Your driving force doesn't have to be something you face alone. Share it with the people who support you. Tell them why you're working so hard, why you're chasing this dream. When you share your why, you not only strengthen your commitment to it, you invite others to be a part of it. They can encourage you, hold you accountable, and remind you of your purpose when you need it most. Finding your driving force is about more than achieving goals. It's about living with intention, with passion, with a sense of meaning. It's about waking up every day, knowing you're working towards something that truly matters. So take the time to dig deep. Be honest with yourself. And when you find that thing that makes your heart race, hold on to it. Let it guide you, fuel you, and keep you moving forward, no matter what challenges come your way. Because with a strong driving force, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Chapter 9. Surround yourself with momentum. When you surround yourself with momentum, everything becomes a little easier. It's like catching a wave in the ocean. Instead of swimming against the tide, you let the energy carry you forward. Momentum doesn't just happen by accident, though. You have to create it, nurture it, and protect it. But once you've got it, it's like having an extra engine driving you toward your goals. Think about a time in your life when things seemed to click, when one good decision led to another, when one success opened the door to the next. That's momentum at work. It's not magic, it's the result of consistent action and being in the right environment. When you start making progress, even small progress, you feel more motivated. That motivation pushes you to take more action, which creates even more progress. It's a beautiful cycle, and the best part is, it builds on itself. Creating momentum starts with taking action, even when you don't feel ready. Sometimes we wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan, but the truth is, momentum doesn't wait. It starts when you do. It starts with that first step, no matter how small. When you start moving, you're sending a message to yourself and to the world. I'm in the game. I'm making this happen. And from there, things begin to shift. But here's the thing, momentum isn't just about you. It's also about the people and environments you surround yourself with. If you're around people who are constantly pushing forward, constantly striving, that energy rubs off on you. It inspires you, challenges you, and lifts you up. On the flip side, if you're surrounded by negativity or complacency, It's like trying to drive with the brakes on. That's why it's so important to choose your circle wisely. Be around people who are going places, who encourage you, who remind you of what's possible. When you're surrounded by that kind of energy, it's hard not to move forward. Think about how a team functions. When everyone is working toward the same goal, when everyone is contributing, the team moves faster and accomplishes more. The same is true in your personal life. When you align yourself with people who are driven, who are striving for more, it's like having a team that's all rowing in the same direction. The energy becomes contagious, and the momentum builds. Momentum also comes from celebrating progress, even the small wins. Every time you recognize what you've accomplished, you're fueling yourself to keep going. Too often, we get so focused on the big goal that we forget to acknowledge the steps along the way. But those steps matter. They're proof that you're moving forward. Take a moment to appreciate them. Say to yourself, I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm excited for what's next. That simple act of recognition can keep your momentum alive. There will be times when momentum slows down. Maybe life throws you a curveball, or maybe you hit a plateau. That's normal. It doesn't mean you've lost your way. It just means you need to adjust. When that happens, go back to the basics. Revisit your why. Reconnect with the habits and actions that got you moving in the first place. Remember, momentum isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about taking the next step, no matter how small it feels. Sometimes, regaining momentum means shaking things up. Try something new, set a fresh goal, or challenge yourself in a different way. Variety can reignite your energy and keep things exciting. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Growth happens when you stretch yourself, and that growth feeds your momentum. Another key to momentum is consistency. Success isn't about big, dramatic actions. It's about showing up every day and doing the work. It's about building habits that support your goals and sticking to them. Even on the days when you don't feel like it, even when the results aren't immediate, you keep going. Because every small action adds up. Every bit of effort pushes you a little further, and over time, those small steps turn into something big. Momentum is also about staying focused. It's easy to get distracted by shiny new opportunities or to spread yourself too thin. But when you try to do too much at once, you dilute your energy. Momentum thrives on clarity. Know what you're working toward. Keep your eyes on the prize. When you're focused, your energy has direction, and that's when momentum really takes off. One of the most powerful ways to build momentum is by helping others. When you lift someone else up, when you share your energy and your encouragement, you're also lifting yourself. It creates a ripple effect. Your actions inspire someone else, their actions inspire you, and together you create a cycle of positivity and progress. Don't underestimate the power of giving. It's not just about what you can achieve, it's about what you can contribute. Momentum isn't just about reaching your goals, it's about the journey. It's about feeling alive, feeling excited, feeling like you're moving in the right direction. It's about waking up every day with a sense of purpose and a belief that you're capable of more. And the best part, once you've got momentum, it carries you. It makes the hard days easier, the challenges more manageable, and the victories even sweeter. So if you're feeling stuck, take that first step. If you're making progress, celebrate it. And if you've got momentum, protect it. Keep going, keep growing, and keep building. Because when you surround yourself with momentum, there's no limit to what you can achieve. You're not just moving forward, you're creating a life that's full of energy, purpose, and possibility. And that's a life worth living. Chapter 10. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Progress is a beautiful thing. It's the quiet, steady proof that you're growing, that you're moving closer to your dreams. But too often, we overlook it. We get so caught up chasing perfection that we forget to appreciate the journey. That's why celebrating progress, not perfection, is one of the most important things you can do for yourself. It keeps you grounded, motivated, and grateful for every step forward. Perfection is a tough standard to live by. It's a moving target, always just out of reach. And let me tell you, chasing it can wear you out. It can steal your joy, your sense of accomplishment, and even your belief in yourself. But progress is attainable. It's real. It's something you can see, feel, and celebrate every single day. When you focus on progress, you give yourself permission to be human. You're no longer bound by the impossible expectation of doing everything flawlessly. Instead, you get to show up as you are, do your best, and know that every effort matters. That's a liberating way to live, isn't it? It's a reminder that the journey is just as important as the destination. Think about how much you've grown already. Take a moment to reflect on where you were a year ago, 5 years ago. Maybe it was a tough time. Maybe you didn't have the clarity, the tools, or the confidence you have now. But look at you today. You've learned. You've adapted. You've taken steps, big and small, to build a better life for yourself. That's progress. That's worth celebrating. Now, I want to be clear. Celebrating progress doesn't mean settling for less. It doesn't mean you stop striving for more. It's not about lowering your standards or giving up on your goals. It's about recognizing the value of every step along the way. It's about saying, I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm excited for what's next. That mindset doesn't just keep you motivated, it keeps you fulfilled. When you celebrate progress, you're building momentum. You're reminding yourself that your efforts are paying off, that you're capable of growth, that you're moving in the right direction. And that feeling, it's contagious. It makes you want to keep going, to keep pushing, to see just how far you can go. That's the power of acknowledging your wins, no matter how small they might seem. Sometimes we forget that the small wins are the building blocks of big achievements. It's easy to dismiss them, to think, oh, that doesn't really count. But let me tell you, every win counts. Every little victory is proof that you're making progress. Whether it's sticking to a habit for a week, learning something new, or simply showing up on a tough day, those moments matter. They're the foundation of success. Life isn't about giant leaps all the time. It's about consistent steps in the right direction. It's about learning as you go, adjusting when you need to, and keeping your eyes on the prize. When you celebrate those steps, you're not just marking your progress, you're fueling your journey. You're giving yourself the energy and confidence to keep moving forward. Think about the last time you accomplished something you were proud of. Did you take the time to celebrate it, or did you brush it off and move straight to the next thing? Too often, we forget to pause and appreciate what we've done. We get caught up in the hustle, always looking ahead, always thinking about what's next. But when you take the time to celebrate, you're honoring your hard work. You're saying, this matters, I matter. Celebration doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be as simple as taking a moment to acknowledge your progress, sharing your success with someone you care about, or treating yourself to something you enjoy. It's not about the size of the celebration, it's about the intention behind it. It's about recognizing your efforts and giving yourself credit where credit is due. And here's the thing, when you celebrate progress, you're also practicing gratitude. You're reminding yourself of what you have, what you've accomplished, and what's possible. Gratitude has a way of shifting your perspective, of helping you see the good in your life and in yourself. It's a powerful habit that can transform the way you experience your journey. Let's talk about the fear of imperfection for a moment. It's something we all face, isn't it? That nagging feeling that we're not doing enough, that we're not good enough, that we're falling short. But here's the truth: perfection isn't what makes you worthy. It's your effort, your resilience, your willingness to keep going despite the challenges. That's what makes you extraordinary. When you focus on progress, you're choosing to see yourself through a lens of compassion and possibility, instead of judgment and doubt. Progress also teaches you patience. It reminds you that growth takes time, that success is a journey, not an overnight event. It's about planting seeds, nurturing them, and trusting that they'll bloom in their own time. When you celebrate progress, you're acknowledging that every step you take, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to your goals. There's beauty in imperfection too. It's in the lessons you learn when things don't go as planned. It's in the resilience you build when you face setbacks. It's in the understanding that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. When you embrace progress over perfection, you're giving yourself the freedom to learn, to grow, and to become the best version of yourself. As you move forward, remember to be kind to yourself. Celebrate the wins, learn from the losses, and keep showing up. Life isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, being engaged, and being committed to growth. Every day is an opportunity to make progress, to take one more step, to become a little better than you were yesterday. So let's make a promise to ourselves today, to celebrate progress, to let go of perfection, and to honor the journey. Because when you do that, you're not just moving forward, you're creating a life that's rich with purpose, growth, and joy. And that, my friend, is something truly worth celebrating.